You know how they say don't judge a book by its cover? Well, obviously I have a book with a really cool cover. But maybe judge a book by its title. And the reason I say that is because the title of this book is Solar Biology, a Scientific Method. And I man, can you title a book better than this? If there is one way to get somebody to pick something up, I think it's by titling it like this. Now, I will say that this is a book from 1901, and therefore, this was certainly more of a title you'd expect in 1901 than 2021. That being said, it's a very interesting book to study. If you can score a copy, I'd say go ahead and get it. I managed to get this, I think it was $35 after watching it on eBay, and the seller offered me a discount. So, I mean, I would expect anywhere from $25 to $60 to get this. And obviously, I have a pretty dingy copy in terms of, like, I've got pages coming out of the binding. Um, this paper right up here is actually loose. You can obviously see parts of the binding here. So this book is, I don't know. Long term, it would obviously need repair, but I say long term, like 100 years. Uh, Books like this that are in, like that are shabby. This one is too. Um, they're actually pretty good condition for being over 100 years old, and I really suggest picking them up despite their appearances because there's plenty of good information inside. The text is perfectly readable. You might feel like the pages are a bit dusty and weird to touch, and I wouldn't blame you. There's always gloves that you can use to read these, and if you want, you can always try. Like we have a book scanner, actually, so we will probably be scanning in a book like this and then reading it digitally because that's a lot easier. And this book and any book its age is out of copyright. So you can pretty much do whatever you want with a book like this. You can literally just do anything with any material in here. And one thing I very much like in this book is in the beginning here they have some very interesting plates. Plates are images in old books. Um, it's because you would actually have a metal plate to make this image and print it, and then you would tip that plate into the book that is made of more regular cottony paper. This stuff here is this like kind of shiny paper that would have taken this ink at the time. Nowadays, you still have like shiny paper is color or illustration, and then cottony paper is text. But then it was a lot more due to actual physical limitations. Now it's somewhere between economy and expectations. So, look, it's theosophy. They say that this is a theosophical diagram, but they don't actually credit theosophy, the official Blavatsky theosophy organization, very directly. Honestly, by the time it gets to this era of occultism, theosophy is generally accepted in the 1900 or so. If you're an occultist, everyone's pretty much adopted theosophy to some degree to fill in the holes of Western occultism, because guess what? There's a new planet, Uranus, sometimes called Herschel. In fact, they in the back here. Um, Gosh, was it there? No, it was actually. Oh yeah, if I go to, there's plenty of places where they mention Uranus and then put right in parentheses afterwards Herschel. And the story behind that is that Uranus was actually discovered um, by an astronomer named Herschel. So um, for a while, it was the planet was named after him, but they decided long term to name the planet Uranus to match with the entire rest of the pantheon established. All of the planets are named after Greek deities. And when you get to the extended range of planets, sometimes it's Greco-Roman or outside of the Greco-Roman pantheon and into our global Earth pantheon. Um, but inside the solar system, um, we tend to have this list of Greek deities that are the names of the planets, and um, astrology traditionally has been based on this, but until very recently, we only had the planets up to Saturn, and then Uranus and Neptune get discovered. Um, I don't think that Pluto is actually listed in this book. Uh, yeah, this would be Mercury, Mars, Earth, and then you have the wheel of the zodiac around it. Uh, Wait, no, sorry. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, asteroid belt, Jupiter, and then we have Saturn, and then Uranus. They actually don't put Neptune on this here, I think because they haven't worked Neptune into. Neptune was discovered after Theosophy was kind of set up, and Theosophy was the idea that, hey, there's another planet now, Uranus, and that is going to fill in the holes in our astrology that we looked for so long. And then they would discover Neptune sometime later, and it's like, oh, what do now? Um, and the answer is wait till Pluto's discovered, which would happen, I think, maybe 20 to 30 years within Neptune being discovered. Neptune's discovery is a little less laudable than the others. Sorry, I'm kind of getting into other stuff. So, obviously, it goes into a lot of zodiac stuff in this book. The point of this book is to be able to take somebody's birth chart and use that to help understand what problems they might run into, what diseases they might get. In 1900, using somebody's chart to understand what diseases they might get was a pretty good leg up on whatever else you'd be able to get for diagnosis, which was maybe nothing. Um, Nowadays, it's not really considered as ethical to use astrology for medical insight. Um, and it's actually after this book was written that you see the major shift in uh, astrology, specifically Western tropical astrology, to be psychologically based. It basically gets rewritten to be more about psychology and the workings of the mind and the inner life and how one uh, interacts. Because anything medically related that wasn't directly rooted in um, biological science was starting to get called out as quackery after this book comes out. So it's an interesting time period for books. I highly suggest reading books from this era because you start to understand just how different people were only 100 years ago. People try to ascribe these uh, views to 1600s era people or medieval era people, and it's like, why don't you take a look at 100 years ago and see just how hard it is to shift your mind over? You can get some very interesting results. So do I recommend this book? If you're interested in astrology and astronomy and where those two meet in their history, I would say keep an eye out for it. I'm not saying it's required essential reading, but it is very interesting, giving a nice close-up of this glyph on the front. The seven-pointed star is a very theosophical device, and of course we've got the 12 zodiac signs around it. And this is a nice gold foil print. I mean, obviously there's some scuffs to this cover and all. Here's the spine. I'll have to keep an eye out to see if I can get a good quality copy of this book, because I'm sure it's a beautiful book in better condition. In this condition, it is very readable. Um, the plates are very enjoyable, and one thing I want to mention actually is they show something very common in many astrological publications, which is this diagram, which they call the solar man. Now, they have different signs attributed to different parts of the body. For instance, Scorpio is, of course, associated with the genitals because they always associate Scorpios with sex. Here we have Aries associated with the forehead because the ram and the horns, obviously, the forehead. Um, and then, I think that these are fairly consistent from analysis to analysis. But I've seen charts like this before. They're very common in alchemy. What I had not seen before was over here, they depict the solar woman. The above diagram, well, the sideways diagram, gives a combined expression of the relation with the signs of the zodiac, which the signs of the zodiac sustain to the different portions of the body, and also of the natural position and relation of the 7 planets to the 7 vital functions of the system. The form of woman is selected as being the mother principle and mold of all things. I just think it's nice that they finally depicted a different body than a cis man in this astrological function because in some cases the body parts are quite different, and it's always weird to just stare at that one stereotypical strapped looking Greek athlete guy. Um, but I also, it's very interesting to see these orbits associated with the regions of the person. I wonder what this becomes when you start incorporating Neptune and Pluto, possibly the asteroids, even out to Eris. What I find is that as science expands the universe, astrology doesn't break down, it actually gets more interesting. And this is a very interesting book. So, there you go. Solar biology.